What's up, YouTube? I am the Vanilla Nerd, and today I'm going to review Project Hail Mary. I know I'm a little late on the uptake, but hey, it just came out on digital, and I decided to rent it. It was a lot of fun to watch. But before we get into the review, I want to say there will be spoilers for this movie through and through, but also minor spoilers for The Martian, another movie based off of an Andy Weir novel. However, that movie is 11 years old at this point, so if you haven't seen it, it's kind of on you, in my opinion, but I digress. Okay, so Project Hail Mary was a fun little sci-fi film. I don't think it was anything amazing or groundbreaking, at least not for me, but it was a good movie, and ultimately I have no major critiques of the film. So, jumping into the praise, I really liked the character of Ryland Grace. He was our main character, and he was the one we spent 90% of the movie with. There are very few other characters in this film, so having the one and only character that we spend time with be so likable and entertaining is huge, and a big reason why I think this movie was so successful. And the actor who portrayed him knocked it out of the park. There's something about Ryan Gosling's humor and comedic timing that I love. I think he just does so well with the physical humor and the funny quips he drops alongside his reactions that just works. It speaks to me. He's just a really good actor, and I really liked him in this role for Project Hail Mary. But beyond Grace, you have Eva Straut, the leader of Project Hail Mary. I really liked her connection and friendship with Grace. It was funny to see her push Grace throughout the entire film, but of course most notably at the very end with the little twist. And I really liked the conviction and dedication of Eva Straut. She was a no-nonsense leader, and she was willing to make the hard choices to get things done, and it made her a very interesting character to see portrayed. I'll give a quick shout out to Carl, the bodyguard assistant to Grace. He worked really well as a straight man off of Grace's eccentric nature, which was hilarious to see. But I also appreciated his funniest scene where he tells the hobby store employee that the government is paying for their shopping needs. All of the governments. It was just hilarious. But of course, the other big star of the movie is Rocky. He was this cute little alien that helped Grace complete his mission and save both of their worlds. The computer voice that they got for Rocky was very funny, and I really liked the almost robot nature it gave to Rocky. As someone who studied a very complex language myself, I do question the validity of being able to translate an alien language in such a short time. However, the movie doesn't go into depth about how long it took them to translate Rocky's language. After all, both Rocky and Grace had enough food to last them quite some time. Plus, with the advancements in AI that are happening almost monthly these days, I do believe an artificial intelligence could greatly speed up that process. So, it by no means ruins the movie, the fact that he learned the language so quickly, nor do I think it's a proper plot hole, maybe just a plot thin spot, not quite a hole yet. But the point is, it is something that I at least would have appreciated a bit more explanation on, explaining how they learned the language so fast. Regardless, it is sci-fi, and in a lot of sci-fi that I watch, there are humans on two completely separate worlds who speak the same language. So, who am I to judge? At least they tried to explain the bridging of languages, and that is appreciated. Also, as an engineer, I really appreciated that the movie used the astrophage, both as a problem and a solution. Like, the astrophage was what was killing the sun, but in order for something to kill the sun, it has to have a lot of power or other unique properties, and in this case, it had a lot of energy, and so the characters in the film were able to use the astrophage to propel their spaceship faster than any normal human engine, and that was a really smart and fun way to cut down on sci-fi gadgets, because I feel like a lesser science fiction story would have had the humans create some super advanced engine that was completely separate from the astrophage, instead of just using it twice in the same book or story. And the engineer part of me hopes that they continue to breed the astrophage even after they use the Tau'amoeba on it, so that way they can continue to travel the stars in cool, fast spaceships. But maybe that's something in the book. I don't know. You'll have to tell me in the comments below if that's something they hint at in the epilogue of the book or something. But it is something that I think would be cool, because now that they have this bacteria that has a lot of energy, they could conceivably travel the stars more effectively. I do want to mention that the visuals in this film are absolutely stunning. I think we take for granted too often that with CGI and stuff, we can basically have any image we want up on screen. But I don't want to take away from all the good work that people put into making this film come to life. The look and feel of space and the planets and the stars was all really cool and really awesome. But more than that, I really liked the look and feel of the Xenonite and the little metal creations that Rocky made. Rocky's design is fantastic. They did such a good job making him feel organic but also a rock. just worked great. And the spaceship that Grace is on looks incredible. The set design and production is just phenomenal. It's kind of expected for this kind of big budget movie, but I don't want to ever take it for granted, you know? But lastly, I just really appreciate the 2 or 3 moral quandaries that are brought up as a result of this film. Rocky was forced to jump out of his glass protection and go save Grace, which, if you think about it, is a big scary deal. Similarly, Grace went to save Rocky after he discovered the Tau amoeba could eat through the xenonite, and while those are both tough decisions, they are also kind of obvious and expected. We see people perform heroic acts all the time on screen for their friends. It doesn't make it less important per se, but certainly I don't think it hits as hard as other decisions in this film. Decisions being Eva Strat's choice to forcibly put Grace on the spaceship. It's an impossible decision, but one that I agree with completely. Like, Grace is the most qualified person to go on this mission. She knows it, he knows it, but he can't force himself to go. He's a coward, or at least he was. So to see the old version of him filled with cowardice be so different from the heroic and brave character that we've seen since the start of the film is really interesting and quite powerful. However, as I alluded to earlier in this review, I consider this only a little twist, because midway through the movie, we meet the flight crew, including the scientist that is going on the spaceship. And since that scientist wasn't one of the 2 corpses that Grace had to send out into the void, we know he was never on the mission. So this twist that was meant to be surprising just didn't have that much impact behind it. I really wish they hid the fact that there was an extra scientist there until later in the film. It would have made for a more exciting twist, in my opinion. Look, I'm not saying that no one would have seen it coming. I mean, half this movie's marketing was around the fact that it was by the same author of The Martian. So people knew it was a book, and plenty of people read the book before going to see the film. But even if you knew the twist was coming, the actor's emotional reaction can still hit like a ton of bricks if they shot it and executed it well enough. And I know this was more surprising for those who read the book, because in the book, Ryland tells himself often, I came on this mission because I wanted to save Earth. I must have been brave. It's like a foundational part of his identity, whereas in the movie, he's more of just confused as to why he's on the ship. He asks, why am I here? And when Rocky asks him, why did they send a school teacher on this mission? Ryland just says, I don't know. If instead he'd replied more confidently, I was supposed to be here, I was the best man for the job, I must have volunteered, I think that would have made it a more powerful twist when we eventually learned that no, he didn't volunteer, he wasn't brave, he didn't want to come on the mission, he was forced to be here, and now he just kind of is accepting it. And look, it's not the end of the world. I do still enjoy this movie without it, but before I learned how it went down in the book, I did feel like Grace's character was lacking something. Like, he was a fun character, but I wish there was more meat to him. I wish there was more there for me to get attached to. But finally, there's the moral quandary that the movie leaves us with. Grace is on Irid, homeworld of Rocky. He has a nice little stable biosphere to live in and little rock students to teach. And he gets to hang out with Rocky. But there is still that lingering issue of, do I go back to Earth, which has the comforts of home, as well as other humans? Because as cool as it would be to hang out on an alien planet and make first contact and learn all this culture behind the aliens, there is still that natural human desire for connection. But maybe he gets plenty of connection with the rock people. I don't know. Whoops, I meant maybe he gets plenty of connection with the Iridians. I guess they aren't called rock people technically. Overall, this was a fun and good movie. It wasn't groundbreaking. Project Hail Mary just had the one character, and while Grace is a very interesting, fun character, I don't think there's enough metaphorical meat on his character for this film to be phenomenal, at least in my opinion. And I think ultimately this film in a lot of ways is going to be overshadowed by The Martian, because so much of the marketing and the story behind it was the fact that this was another book by the same author, and they both feature a sad, lonely astronaut with some solid science to back up the story. Admittedly, Project Hail Mary has aliens, both in the bacteria of the astrophage and the Iridians, whereas The Martian has no aliens, but still, I think a lot of us were going into this film expecting The Martian 2.0, and instead we got a film that was of lower quality than The Martian. Again, it's not the end of the world. These movies and books don't take place within the same universe or anything, so we should judge Project Hail Mary objectively all by itself. But when you look at it subjectively next to what came before, I just think The Martian was the stronger movie, and that's unfortunate. All that being said, Project Hail Mary is still a great film. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, and ultimately, I think it fills a storytelling genre niche that a lot of people enjoy, which is that grounded, realistic, hopeful sci-fi, which we've been missing in a lot of ways since The Martian. I mean, I know Interstellar was also in this realm, but that movie came out a year before The Martian. And I'm sure there's been a few other movies like Project Hail Mary to have come out between The Martian and now, but I don't think any of them reached the same popularity as this film, because on top of everything else, Project Hail Mary was really the first major blockbuster of this year. Yes, Super Mario Bros. Galaxy came out and that made close to $1 billion, but that movie was clearly marketed at children and adult fans of the video game, which is fine. And there are plenty of people in that fandom, but Project Hail Mary is definitely more broad reaching. A lot more people can enjoy Project Hail Mary, even if you haven't read the book and stuff. Regardless, I think Project Hail Mary is a good film. It may not be a masterpiece, but not every movie has to be a masterpiece for it to be enjoyable. And this film is still a good film. Regardless, that is my review. Now I want to know your thoughts. Please take to the comments, engage. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of Project Hail Mary. If you thought it was good, bad, somewhere in between, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks.